Welcome to the motherfucking lady. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. I'm sure that many of you have heard by now. The WBC hereby sends out a heartwarming congratulations to WBC Super Lightweight Champion Sandy Ryan on the sensational news of her pregnancy. The WBC will place Sandy Ryan as a champion in recess and will secure she has all the support whenever she is ready to come back to the ring if she decides to do so. Because there's always a chance that she decides to be a full-time mom, to enter a new chapter in her career. That's what Tina Ruprecht just did after becoming undisputed. You never know. Sandy Ryan might do the same thing following becoming a two-weight world champion, having been a champion at 147 and currently at 140. It's in the air as to what she will decide to do. So the WBC is hereby confirming emeritus champion Katie Taylor to fight Flora Pilli for the vacant WBC Super Lightweight Championship, making Katie Taylor's swan song in September for undisputed, affording her the chance to become an undisputed champion for a third time. That's assuming Katie Taylor decides to abide by this order and fights Flora Pilli, but I don't see why she wouldn't. Flora's just as good an opponent choice as any at this point in Katie's career, but who is Flora Pilli, and what do we need to know about her? Flora Pilli, the unbeaten French woman, sports a professional record of 12 wins with no losses and no draws, 2 recorded knockouts. Last in action in December of the previous year, where she won a majority decision against Jelena Janicevic over 10 rounds. If Katie Taylor does end up fighting her in December, it will be roughly 9 months from Flora's last fight, just a few months short of a year. Based on her quality of competition so far, you could categorize Flora Pilli as a solid EBU level fighter, a solid European level fighter that hasn't faced any real world level fighters. Not yet. But for what is Katie Taylor's swan song, the occasion isn't necessarily based on an opponent or some big fight that we've all been waiting to see. It's the opportunity to see Katie for the last time in the squared circle in the boxing ring. So there really isn't that much emphasis on who she's fighting, but that she would be fighting a young fighter, only 28 years old, unbeaten. That makes her just as good an opponent choice as any in this late stage of the Bray Bombers' boxing career. Of course, with news of a potential Flora Pilli fight, that would take Katie Taylor out of the running of a Stephanie Hahn fight. Stephanie, who called her out this past weekend after winning a decision against Holly Holm, that takes Katie out of the running for an Alicia Baumgartner fight. Because she's been calling her out too. No one ever expected that Katie Taylor was going to fight either of those fighters in what is her soon-to-be swan song, so they're going to have to fight each other or fight somebody else, do something. Fuck it. But there is also the matter of what happens after September. You see, Sandy Ryan is no longer this division's WBC champion. It's conceivable that Katie Taylor is going to win the title again, win it in September, become undisputed for a third time, but after that, she's out of here. After that, she retires. So who would the title go to then? It's going to be vacant again, and I don't think in between now and September, Sandy Ryan's going to give birth, come back, start fighting people. Sandy won't be back, if she comes back, until some point next year. Who becomes champion in the interim? Look no further than the WBC's ranked standings, where Belgium's own Helene Connart is ranked at number 2. Maybe she becomes champion. Ranked right behind her is veteran journeywoman and the sister of Lucas Mathise, Edith Soledad Mathise of Argentina. There is also veteran journeywoman Carla Ramos Zamora. If the ranks hold, if the top 5 stays this way, then the next WBC champion after Katie's gone might be one of these girls. Don't rule out somebody moving up. Because somebody might. Remember that Terry Harper is coming off that competitive decision loss to Caroline Dubois at 135. She's re-entered camp. She's back in the gym. Who's to say that she doesn't move up to 140 to line herself up for that vacant title after September, after Katie's gone? That is yet another distinct possibility. Terry entering into the frame to become a 4-weight world champion. She's been a champion at 130, at 135, at 154 briefly. Maybe she'll go to 140 now. Try to become a champion there. Maybe. But just remember, if she does and she picks up that belt, as soon as Sandy Ryan decides to come back, that would make Sandy Ryan her problem. And Sandy already beat her once before. Just some things to consider on the heels of this news. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, Eddie Hearn confirms Netflix's interest in Inoue vs. Bam Rodriguez. Yeah, look, Turkey LL Sheik, Netflix, we've spoken to them, Hearn told The Ring, while promoting the Anthony Joshua vs. Christian Prenga heavyweight fight in London. They want to see the fight. It's the biggest fight for Inoue by a mile.
Well, now it is. Now that he's fought practically everyone else in the super bantamweight division and his domestic rival, Junto Nakatani, and what is the biggest fight Japan would have ever seen, would have ever hosted. Now that the dust is settled with that, Bam becomes the biggest fight for Inoue. LL Sheik, owner of The Ring and chairman of Saudi Arabia's General Entertainment Authority, wants to complete a deal for Inoue to defend his Ring Magazine, IBF, WBA, WBC, and WBO titles against Bam. And he wants to do it in Japan.
Inoue, 33, is ranked number 1 on Ring Magazine's pound-for-pound list, 3 spots atop the 4th-rated Rodriguez. Inoue defeated previously unbeaten countryman Junto Nakatani by UD May 2nd, before a capacity crowd of approximately 55,000 at the Tokyo Dome. You have to wonder if that same-size capacity crowd would then show up to see him fight Bam, who's not his domestic rival, and there's no real rivalry between Inoue and Bam.
So then what makes that the biggest fight for Inoue?
The amount of money Turkey is willing to pay him to do that fight, the involvement of a massive platform like Netflix, and of course, relativity.
He's already fought everybody else at 118 and 122. Everybody worth fighting.
Relative to the fighters that are there now, Bam would present the biggest fight for Inoue. Bam Rodriguez owns the Ring Magazine, WBA, WBC, and WBO junior bantamweight titles, but he will move up from the 115-pound division to 118 for his bantamweight debut June 13th. The strong southpaw from San Antonio, Texas is scheduled to challenge WBA champion Antonio Vargas. In a 12-round main event, DAZN will stream worldwide from the Desert Diamond Arena in Glendale, Arizona. DraftKings lists Rodriguez, 26, as a 25-1 favorite over Vargas of Kissimmee, Florida.
And now it's going to be for the full WBA title, because up until recently, Japan's own Seiya Tsutsumi was the full WBA champion, but they just labeled him a champion in recess so that this fight could be for the full title.
Vargas is a good fighter, tough opponent, Hearn said, and that's next week. I mean, it's coming around so quick, and if Bam comes through that, he'll be calling Inoue out in the ring that night. Hearn, whose company Matchroom Boxing promotes Rodriguez, isn't surprised Netflix is intrigued by an Inoue versus Rodriguez bout because of its appeal internationally. Yeah, it's massive. It's a massive fight for Japan, Hearn said, and Jesse can beat him, and it would be an unbelievable move to become a 4-weight world champion. Next week, he goes for the 3rd division, so really with Usyk probably on his way out, and obviously almost losing to Rico Verhoeven, it's really number 1 versus number 2. Essentially, pound for pound, fighting each other.
They're saying that they're going to bring Inoue back out one more time before the year is out. If Bam is successful in a little over a week's time, do they bring him back out?
I'm not sure, because bringing him back out sometime at the beginning of the fall would put him on a very tight schedule. You have to consider they're talking about doing the Inoue fight in January.
So Bam is fighting at the beginning of the summer. That would only leave him enough time to return at the beginning of the fall, if they even do that. And it would have to be against a jobber. It would have to be against someone who doesn't jeopardize the Inoue fight.
It would have to be towards the end of September or the beginning of October, leaving Bam with all of November to recuperate, to then go back into camp sometime in December to be ready for January. It's a tight schedule, like I said, to where I don't know if Bam fights again before this year is out. And given what he stands to make boxing the likes of Naoya Inoue,
I don't know that he wants to
fight again before this year is out, or make any moves that would jeopardize the Inoue fight, because you have to understand, the fighters at these lower weights, even the very accomplished ones, don't normally make all that much money. The purses down there are normally quite modest, even for the best of the best, superfly, bantamweight.
Super bantamweight, they don't normally make that much. For Bam, fighting Inoue really does represent a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, win or lose.
You won't make with anyone else what you stand to make with Inoue at this point in the juncture. So while he's still here and he's still fighting, you've got to strike while the iron is hot. Even if they're rushing you to defeat, And that's what I think they're doing. I like Bam.
Bam.
But the way they're moving him through these weights in a hurry to get him to Inoue, it doesn't really allow him the time he needs to fully acclimate to 118, much less 122, where they're gonna fight.
One fight with Antonio Vargas at 118. That's not acclimating to bantamweight.
And to do what? To potentially end up sitting out for the rest of the year, to then come back at the beginning of the next one at yet another weight, a new weight.
Against a guy like this?
Understand something. Bam has never been that big a guy. I mean, even as far as these divisions go, he's a modest-sized super flyweight. He's not big for that division. He's not gonna be big at 118.
Much less at 122.
Where Inoue has already acclimated to that division. He's been there for the last 3 going on 4 years.
And 9 fights.
The virtue of what is Inoue's very active schedule, this guy makes enough money that he doesn't need to fight as often as he does. But in the last 3 years, he's squeezed in 9 fights as a super bantamweight.
Mine!
So he is more than used to fighting as a 122-pounder. He is more than acclimated to this weight, where Bam, in all likelihood, won't be.
And Eddie Hearn is rushing him up to fight this guy?
Listen, as a promoter, that's his job, to promote the biggest and the best fights that generate the most money. Financially, it's a huge opportunity for Bam that will not present itself again. There aren't 1 or 2 or 3 potential Inoues lying around. This is a once-in-a-lifetime fighter. These divisions have never seen this kind of money flowing through them.
So while he's here, let him fuck you up. Let him beat your ass. Maybe you lose, but there's no shame in it, and you'll walk away with more money than you could have made fighting anybody else.
Afterwards, you take a break, go on holiday, enjoy some of the money you made, spend it, then go back down. Go back down to 118 and continue to fight there.
If Bam even wants to keep fighting after that.
Not saying that he doesn't or that he won't, but you know, boxing is a difficult job. It's a difficult profession, and you seldom get the opportunity to make life-altering money, so that when you do you really want to keep putting yourself through the grind?
Putting your body through it.
What's the common theme after a guy fights a Canelo Alvarez and makes life-altering money with him? They usually go on holiday, and they go for a while. A year?
Jermel Charlo hasn't come back yet.
So just imagine that you're Bam, and you're fighting the biggest name anywhere at or around these weights, the biggest name these weights have ever seen, that generates the most money these weights have ever seen on a massive platform like Netflix. He's got to go to Japan to do it, and I think that Bam understands that. He's okay with it. He's fought there before.
He's not a fucking dickhead like most Americans.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be a little bitch about it like Bruce Carrington demanding that Inoue fight him here in the United States. I mean, who the fuck are you?
Oh, and it's got to be in Bruce's city.
Bam understands the assignment. He's willing to do what he's got to do, and it's for that reason, win or lose, he stands to gain a lot.
No, Shakur signed with Zuffa, so that'll be him moving forward. But I just don't know who they're going to put him in with, because you see, Zuffa are paying like as a business, they're paying these guys 5 times more than anybody else will pay them. To fight who? Like, who are you going to put Shakur? You can put Shakur in with O'Shaki Foster and give him $15 million? I mean, good luck to Shakur. I love him. I'd said to him, fucking great, mate. But yeah, it's a weird model, and it's a model that's not going to last very long.
Does that mean Shakur's motivation for the sport and being at the best is gone?
No, I think he'll want to be the best, but I think he's been. Like, you get told all different things. They're probably saying to him, "You're going to fight Haney. You're going to fight this guy. You're going to fight that guy," and you know. Yeah, I think Shakur is a legacy guy, but you know, for now maybe he gets to win one of those beautiful Zuffa belts.
Not likely, since Shakur Stevenson now campaigns as a 140-pound fighter, and Zuffa doesn't have a 140-pound division, so how is this supposed to work?
And let's establish that migrating over to Zuffa doesn't mean that you've given up on your legacy as a boxer by default. That's how some people are trying to frame it when it comes to Jai Opataya. Are they going to keep doing that when the news is official and it's announced that Shakur is over there?
And what if Devin joins him?
It's very easy for the slack-jawed Americans to frame it that way when it comes to an Aussie fighter that they don't really like. But what happens when it is a fighter they like, somebody they've been supporting up until this point? How will they frame it then?
They want to say that Jai costed himself all the big fights by going over there as a means to excuse David Benavidez from fighting him. But if Shakur's over there and Devin is over there, and other big names migrate over to Zuffa,
I don't know. It's gotta be tough on these Americans having to constantly move the goalpost. That's all they're good at these days.
Eddie Hearn says I don't know who they'll put him in with.
They're overpaying these fighters 4 and 5 times more than anybody else is willing to pay them, but to fight who? We already got a glimpse of this when they overpaid Conor Benn to fight Regis Prograis.
Now they're set to do the same thing with Shakur Stevenson, but to fight who? I think the way it's going to break down is they're going to still look outside of their own borders for opponents for Shakur and whatever other high-profile fighters they sign.
Shakur's opponent choices will not be limited to just Zuffa fighters and whoever they have under contract. They're still going to look outside of their own borders. And based on what they offer these guys, they're going to bite. They're going to take the fights because this is still prize fighting. And money still is the great motivator.
Is it sustainable, though, doing this?
Absolutely not. And it's not original either. Overpaying fighters is what the PBC did upon their inception. And when DAZN debuted in America, they did the same thing. When Boxer got the Sky Sports deal,
they overpaid some of Matchroom's fighters to leave Matchroom to come fight for them. In the end, it didn't pan out.
So this is not original. We've already seen this before, and that's why we know it's not sustainable.
Now, you can do this now in the beginning while you have money to burn, but at some point, you're going to be spending so much that it doesn't make sense anymore, and the hope has got to be that by the time that happens, you've increased your brand power, people are watching.
Because it's going to happen. At some point, you're going to be spending so much money, it doesn't make sense anymore.
And the hope has got to be that by the time that happens, you've really gotten this thing off the ground, and you become a trusted brand in the sport that people regularly go to watch boxing matches. Let me tell you that it didn't work for the PBC. All the money they burned through, and look at them now. It didn't work for Boxer either.
They fucked off a lot of money. Not as much as the PBC, not $500 million, but they spent a lot of money. And look at where they are now. Almost non-existent. Their fighters have next to no visibility.
DAZN did manage to succeed where the PBC and Boxer failed. Just as a platform, they spent a lot of money, they did, but in the end, they are now the most trusted source for big-time boxing. They've got all the big-time promoters. They outlasted Fox, they outlasted Showtime, ESPN.
So it's not impossible. It has worked at least once, but it costed a lot of money to get to this point.
What is it going to cost Zuffa to get people to come around to the idea that they're a good source for boxing too? I think they're off to a decent start.
We've got to let it play out.
But Eddie Hearn is absolutely right. You know, you can overspend to acquire top talent now. We've seen that before. What you do with that talent determines how successful you will be.